Good morning. Good morning. There you go. That's it. That's how we do it. Welcome to KotlinConf 2023. We are back. We're back in Amsterdam. How many of you been here in Amsterdam before? Raise your hands. Awesome. Brilliant venue. We're back here. We are back in person, which is fantastic. And it's really, really exciting and great to be back. We are also going to be joined online by everyone that couldn't make it here. We are streaming the keynote, the closing panel. Everything is being streamed this year. So for all those folks that are online, welcome to you too. We're also doing KotlinConf Global, which is going to take place in 41 countries, 91 events across the globe. And we welcome them as well. And of course, I want to say a special thank you to our partners. Please go and make sure you visit the exhibit area. They're wonderful. They're awesome. They're great. They're here. There you go. That's why, right? Program committee also, we've put together a very diverse program for you, a bunch of different topics. Anything you may be interested in, you'll be able to find. We have more contents even this year. We have 4 parallel tracks. As before, we have a new track, which is called the Lightning Talks, which are 15-minute talks. You've got 2 Lightning Talks in 1 slot of 45 minutes. That means that if your attention span is too short, go to the Lightning Talks. And you'll get a 10-minute break between them, but there's no coffee. But, you know, it'll give you time to reflect. We also have 2 code labs this year. We've got our partners back from Big Nerd Branch that are running code labs, and we have AWS labs that are doing hands-on things. So if you got your laptop with you, you can go up there and do some exercises. As always, there's a party tonight. There's a party over there. And we've enabled a brand new floor, which we built. No, we didn't build it, but we've enabled a brand new floor downstairs where it's going to be a quiet area. There's a place for you to hang out. You can go anytime, not just at the party. There's a barista there. You've got electric plugs. You know, that's what we do, right? We come to a conference and then we'll go in a corner and work with our laptop. There's a closing panel. As always, you can ask questions here if you're in this room. I'm not sure if you're in that room, but if you're in this room, you can ask questions. Come up to the mic. If you are online or you don't want to come up to the mic, send us a question, KC23 Ask. We will be collecting those questions and asking them. The harder the question, the more entertaining it will be for everyone. Finding your way around, I was going to say, you know, I'm going to tell you how everything is placed, but everyone comes in and they're looking at the map, staring at the map. I'm like, it's not that interesting. But anyway, you've already probably looked at the map. You're on the ground floor. This is the big venue, the big rooms. Exhibit is over there. Then you have upstairs, you've got the 2 or 3 rooms. You've got the Lightning Talks on that side, and then you've got a session room on this side and a session room right over there above the stage. The ground floor, as I mentioned, we've got the lounge where you can hang out and the cloakroom also. Wi-Fi, KotlinConf, no password. We all trust each other. Hydration, we individually unwrapped, washed the bottles for you. So we're trying to be green, no plastic or paper cups or anything like that, so try and use your bottles. If you're not comfortable, give them another rinse, but they should all be okay. T-shirts, you can pick up your T-shirts from today at 2 o'clock at registration. There's a T-shirt for everybody, so don't all rush at once. Just take your time, okay? That 10 minutes between the Lightning Talks is when you can pick up your T-shirts. Not all of you, of course. The KotlinConf app is ready for you to mark your favorite sessions, etc. Most importantly, make sure you vote. If you're not entirely satisfied with the talk, first ask yourself if it's you and not the talk. And if it is the talk, then give us some feedback. But there's a little comment box we've enabled, so if it's not happy or you're just kind of like a grimy day, tell us a little bit why. We'll try and make improvements for everyone. And with that, enjoy, and I'm going to hand it over to Romana Literrals. Thank you.
So hello, welcome back to KotlinConf. I'm delighted to see you all here in Amsterdam. The power of Kotlin has always been in its community, in you. And let's see what kind of audience we have here. Who are you? Let's do a show of hands. Who is doing Android development here? Please raise your hands. Wow, great, lots of folks. Thank you. And who is doing non-Android developer, like server-side web? Wow, oh my God, that's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of you, and that is really inspiring. Kotlin is used in many places. Our own data shows that 2/3 of Kotlin active users are Android developers, and 1/3 is using Kotlin for server-side and other things. Kotlin is multi-platform, and we'll have the whole section on all things multi-platform later in this keynote. For now, let's look at an overall picture. Seeing Kotlin audience growth is great, but that's not what keeps the Kotlin team busy and excited about the future. Things like these are. Last year, we did the customer satisfaction survey. According to its result, 86% of all Kotlin users across all the platforms are either satisfied or very satisfied with Kotlin. That is the number we strive to make even better. You see, Kotlin has become what it was designed to be, the language for industry, a fun yet reliable tool you can use in your day-to-day job. Kotlin is the language that was meant to be enjoyed, and the Kotlin development team in JetBrains is focusing on all aspects of quality, including performance and stability. And when you work with Kotlin, you use the Kotlin compiler. And what part of the Kotlin compiler you interact with most as a developer? That part is called compiler frontend. And we saw your complaints about compilation speed, but it was harder to optimize it. So we started the project to rewrite the compiler frontend and codename it K2 back in 2019. And the new architecture was really needed to make a breakthrough. As this work is nearing completion, I'm really excited to say that it will be released as Kotlin 2.0. This is the major update to the Kotlin compiler. Today, the preview version of Kotlin 2.0 compiles a large corpus of Kotlin code, correctly reports warning and errors, and passes virtually all the tests. And it is significantly faster. See for yourself. This is the compilation time for the full IntelliJ Ultimate sources. The bottleneck is currently in the compiler frontend. As you can see on this picture, it is the slowest part, taking the most time. With Kotlin 2.0 preview, the frontend is significantly faster. It's actually several times faster, so it's almost on par with the compiler backend. The whole compilation pipeline becomes twice as fast. Of course, the actual numbers you'll get depend on what you compile. For example, when compiling the Kotlin compiler itself, the improvement you get from Kotlin 2.0 is even better. But what are the plans for Kotlin 2.0 release? The work is continuing as we speak. We're only starting to gather your feedback on how it works with your projects. We still plan to release Kotlin 1.9 later this year, but there will be no Kotlin 1.10. Right after 1.9, we'll start working on stabilization of Kotlin 2.0. We'll be working hard to ensure that Kotlin 2.0 perfectly compiles all of your code. And for that, we really need your feedback. So please try Kotlin 2.0 now and check if it works for your code, and if it doesn't, please report the problems you run into to the issue tracker. Our goal is to make your transition from Kotlin 1.9 to Kotlin 2.0 as smooth as possible. In fact, we're consciously trying to minimize the number of changes between Kotlin 1.9 and Kotlin 2.0. You see, the compiler frontend is also the key part of the IDE plugin for Kotlin. Things like code highlighting and auto-completion depend on it. So we'll talk about the future after Kotlin 2.0 in a bit. But in order to make this future possible, it is important that Kotlin IDE plugin also uses new Kotlin 2.0 frontend. The Kotlin IDE plugin is released on its own schedule that is aligned with IntelliJ releases. So there will be a time when your compiler and your IDE use different version of the Kotlin frontend. So that makes it very important that Kotlin 1.9 and Kotlin 2.0 are compatible with respect to the language constructs they support. So that's why we're trying to keep them as similar as possible. And the great thing about this whole IDE work is that it also provides a clean separation between the compiler itself and the IDE code through a new layer that we call the analysis API. And it's not just for IDE. For example, Kotlin symbol processing engine is being updated by folks at Google to work on top of the analysis API. So if you're writing your compiler plugins with KSP, they'll automatically work with Kotlin 2.0. We're also improving the underlying infrastructure of the IDE plugin to make it even faster. So if you're interested in details, I really invite you to the talk by Vladimir tomorrow at 1 p.m. on how these improvements are being made. Now, let's talk about the future after Kotlin 2.0. Because this is another reason why Kotlin 2.0 is such a big deal. It makes it really easy to evolve the language. In it, the high-level syntactic features get desugared into all the boilerplate, right in the compiler frontend. Everything else follows automatically out of it. We don't have to painstakingly change dozens of places in the compiler to add a new feature to the language. But how do we figure out what features to add? That's, fortunately, really straightforward for us. Kotlin is the language we develop for you. And we already have a clear picture of your most pressing needs. It comes from issue tracker, from your votes, and from the language feature survey that we do. So I'll give you a short overview of some of the most wanted features of Kotlin, features that we're planning to deliver after Kotlin 2.0. These are static extensions, collection literals, name-based destructuring, context receivers, and explicit fields. That's what we'll cover today. Let's start with static extensions. The request to support static extensions is literally the most voted issue in Utrecht, like literally as the highest number of votes ever for any issue. Let's take a look at the problem they solve. So suppose you have a third-party class, take file, for example, or anything else. And now you want to write an extension that you'll be calling this class. Maybe you want to call open function using file.open syntax. Now, if that was a class from your own code, then you could have defined a companion for the class and then declared an extension of this companion, as simple as it is. But if that is a third-party class, yet that doesn't have a companion object, then you cannot do this. This code simply will not compile. So static extensions provide a solution here. You can declare them on any class with a new syntax for static extensions. And it's more than just about static extensions. We also plan to add static members to Kotlin. They provide an efficient alternative for many cases where you use companion objects today. Statics will be one of the first big features we'll work on right after Kotlin 2.0. You see, static extensions enable you to attach functions to classes. And that is required for the next feature we'll talk about. And these are collection literals. So what problem do they solve? Well, in Kotlin today, when you have a property with a list of strings, say, for example, command line arguments, then in order to pass an actual list of strings to this property, you use list of function. When your code contains a lot of configuration or is otherwise data-heavy, these list of calls don't add any value. They just create visual noise in your code. With collection literals, you'll have a concise and universally recognizable syntax with square brackets to create your lists. And it will not just improve syntax. It will also have an efficient implementation that does not use arrays. Collection literals will also work with domain-specific types. For example, persistent lists that come from a separate library that we develop will also use collection literals. In fact, any library with collection types will be able to work with collection literals. As you would expect in Kotlin, you'll be also able to specify the class on the right-hand side, or get it inferred from the context of the code around it. The collection literal syntax is actually the same that the syntax we already use for arrays in annotations. The whole groundwork for this syntax was laid back then when we added it to the language. So what's the status? We have a prototype that demonstrates how easy it is to integrate collection literals into Kotlin 2.0 architecture. We'll work on the details of the design and implementation right after static extensions. Now, let's look on the next wanted feature, name-based destructuring. You see, collections are positional. All you have in a collection is the order of elements. But data classes, they are name-based for the most parts. When you declare a data class, you specify the names of the properties. And when you deserialize this data class from JSON or your database, it's usually the names that matter, not the order of the properties in your declaration. So now, when you have an instance of this data class, you can destructure it into variables using destructuring declaration syntax. That's what we call it in Kotlin. But this syntax is positional, not name-based. So why is it a problem? You see, the problem is that it is too easy to make a mistake. You can flip the properties around, and your code still compiles. And it can happen if you just refactor your data classes. We know that this is bothering many of you. That's why you vote for it. So some even prohibit destruction altogether in their code style as a rule. We want to get this right for Kotlin, and we're taking a careful approach here. We want to find a solution that works well, but it will not be among the first features we deliver after Kotlin 2.0, but we're going to fix it. Watch the UTROC issue for updates and share your thoughts if you have on what to do with it. And we'll move on to the next really popular issue, context receivers. So with them, we've been experimenting for quite a while. The public prototype is already available for the current version of Kotlin. But what do? To keep this story short, they help you when you write a large application and you have a ubiquitous context that you pass around many functions. People have found ways to work around this problem by using extension functions. But context receivers provide a cleaner solution here. With context receivers, you can explicitly declare the context of your function. So you can cleanly distinguish between the actual parameters your function works with and the context your function works within. What's more, context can be added to extension functions. So you can continue to write your code as a nice chain of extension calls while the context is being automatically passed around. The context receiver feature has been out of preview for quite a while already. So we've gathered a lot of valuable feedback from the people who already tried it out. And they found way was how it can be used and how it can be abused too. So we'll definitely going to address all these issues that you found before making the design final in one of Kotlin 2.x versions. But there's another small yet very helpful feature that is almost ready to be delivered, and that's explicit fields. The problem they solve is likely known to many of you here. Suppose you write a holder for your mutable state. maybe a mutable state flow. But you want to keep it private because it is mutable. So you create a private baking field for it. Now, to expose this property to public, you declare a property with a different non-mutable type, state flow in this example on the screen. So now you have a property with one type, and private property, and a public property with another type. But they essentially refer to the same concept. They have the same name. And you have to repeat this name 3 times in your code. That is a lot of boilerplate for what conceptually is just a single property in your code. And Kotlin mission is to get rid of boilerplate. So here we go. We'll offer a more concise syntax shortly after Kotlin 2.0. With this new syntax, you can explicitly declare the type and the value of the private baking field for your public property. No more boilerplate. Most of the design and the actual implementation for this new feature is already there. It's just waiting to be released shortly after Kotlin 2.0. So with that, let's move on. So, well, performance and ability to support new language features is not all that is so great about Kotlin 2.0. The new architecture is also significantly more powerful in what can be achieved outside of the language itself in compiler plugins. Kotlin 2.0 is still a work in progress, but we've been experimenting to see what we can do with it. For this demo, I'll use an experimental Kotlin data frame library. So using this library, I can read a data set with all the questions on Kotlin from Stack Overflow. Let's quickly check the schema of this data set. It actually has a lot of columns, but I'm primarily interested in creation date for the question and tags. So let's filter it to keep only questions that are tagged as related to Kotlin Multiplatform. As you can see, I can refer to tags column in this code by its name. That's because I have generated the corresponding extension property in advance based on the data schema that I knew I was going to work with in my code. Now I want to see how the interest in multiplatform grows year by year. So I start by creating a new column called year. And now I want to group with this newly added column. But here is the problem. This code will not compile. That's because I don't have this year column in my original data set. So there is no extension to refer to it from my code by a simple name. I can only use string. However, with the new frontend, we can write a compiler plugin that understands this code for this particular library and injects the appropriate context with an extension property right at compile time, at the right place, just when I need it. With the plugin, I would not even need to write any extensions in advance. All the necessary extensions to work with my data will be declared on the fly during compilation or as I type my code in IDE. This kind of plugin is just an early prototype to explore what's possible with Kotlin 2.0 architecture. I'm sure you'll find even more uses for these new capabilities to help with your own libraries that you use. If you want to know more, I really invite you to check out Michael's talk tomorrow on K2 compiler plugins. Remember, K2 is code name for the Kotlin 2.0 compiler. That's tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. So this concludes my section on Kotlin 2.0. To recap, it's coming after Kotlin 1.9. It is fast. It opens the road to new features and enables completely new class of compiler plugins. Try it now and give us your feedback. Like, we really need to make sure it works well on your code. So now let's get back to the data. So do you want to see how the interest in Kotlin Multiplatform grows year by year? Do you want to know the answer? Yeah? So, but see, I don't want to show, because that's what's just text. I don't want to show you boring text table in a console. I want to show you something visual, like a chart. And that is a common problem software developers face. Most of the production code you write works with data. But sometimes in your work, you have one-of-a-kind data exploration task, just like we did. The data can come from many sources. Maybe you have a database, or there is a new API you like to explore, or you're just debugging your code and want to understand the data in there. In fact, this is a solved problem in the world of data science. Data scientists routinely use an interface called notebooks for interactive data analysis. Notebooks are like Scratch files on steroids, but they are extremely underrated among the general application developers. Why? It's simply because they're not integrated into everyday tools that developers use. And that is something we in JetBrains can change. Soon, we'll be releasing the first preview of Kotlin Notebooks as a plugin to IntelliJ IDEA. What can they do? Let them speak for themselves. Watch video on the screen. We believe that notebooks that are available right at your fingertips inside your favorite IntelliJ IDE and work with your favorite programming language, Kotlin, will dramatically improve your productivity. Please come to JetBrains booth there at the conference to be the first one to try them out. With that, let me introduce our next speaker. Welcome, Grace Kloba, VP of Engineering for Android Developer Experience at Google.
Thanks, Roman. That's a really cool video. Good morning, everyone. I'm Grace Kloba, leading Android Developer Experience Group. I'm thrilled to be here with you all in person today. So first, I want to share some of the investment that we are making in Kotlin at Google. Let me take you back in time to 2014. So let me take you back in time to 2014. Android Studio is built on top of IntelliJ. It means our developers are exposed to the language early on, and they really like it. Our Jetpack library team also started to explore the language in the same year for the library development. By early 2017, we decided to announce Kotlin will be official language for Android development. This was a big decision, but we believe it's the right one because it's the best language for the developer, and we committed to its future. We also partnered with JetBrains to create Kotlin Foundation to help ensure its continued growth and evolution. Officially supporting Kotlin was just the first step. We know we have to make a much better experience for the greater Android developer community. So we made a significant investment on multiple fronts. Of course, we built a Kotlin support in Android Studio to make sure it's the best IDE for Android development. Every month, there were millions of developers come to our website to visit and getting the documentation. So we invest in building a Kotlin portal for Android, making API references available in Kotlin, and providing end-to-end examples for you to learn from. It's no secret, developers learn from one another. So we have taken initiative to create a wide range of comprehensive training resources, including YouTube video, complete courses, and community-led events that are available to individuals across the world. From 2017 through 2019, we saw continuing growth in Kotlin popularity. This led us to take the next two big steps. First, we made Kotlin generally available for Android development at Google. This is a big undertaking because Google has a large mono repo with many customer tools. It requires a lot of engineering effort to support Kotlin. Next, we pivoted to Kotlin first for all Android development. While we're still supporting Java programming language, we focused our Android developer experience around Kotlin. This meant making Kotlin the default languages and providing more resources and tools for you to learn and use Kotlin. If you're an Android developer, you probably heard of modern Android development, our recommended tools, APIs, and guidance. Kotlin is at the heart of this new strategy. We require all new JPEG libraries to be written in Kotlin. Now, Kotlin is the most popular language for Android development. Over 95% of the top 1,000 Android apps use Kotlin. And over 50% of professional Android developers use Kotlin as their primary language. JPEG Compose, our modern UI toolkit, is built exclusively with Kotlin. This allows us to use Kotlin's rich compiler API to generate all the UI state management logic for you, so you can focus on the high-level UI design. It is built on top of the powerful Kotlin features like extension methods and a coroutine to make it more expressive. JPEG Compose is changing how you build Android apps. Today, over 23% of the top 1,000 apps in Google Play shipping with Compose, more than double since last year. The team from Clue shared with us their development speed increased up to 3 times after rewriting apps using JPEG Compose. Like JetBrains, every year we perform a survey with developers visiting our websites. The results are incredibly positive. Among professional Android developers use Kotlin, we saw 96.9% positive satisfaction rate. This is 9 points higher than their Java counterpart. We also heard feedback from developers. Kotlin not only improved their productivity, but also improved apps quality. For example, in Google Play, we saw apps built with Kotlin on average 20% less likely to crash. This is great news for everyone. So with Kotlin be widely used for application code and for expressing rich UI with Jetpack Compose, today we're taking the last step to enable Kotlin, to enable you build the Android apps with a single language. I'm excited to announce Kotlin DSL will be the default for all new Android apps, starting Android Studio Giraffe. This wouldn't be possible without the many usability improvements done by Gradle and a significant performance improvement in IntelliJ 2022.3. We are very grateful for the collaboration by all three companies. In fact, Gradle is also recommending Kotlin DSL by default for new builds. With this change, you will get a much improved editor experience, as Kotlin provides you inlay hint, semantic highlighting, navigation, and code completion. These features are critical when you work with complex or unfamiliar build script without knowing all its rules. Since Kotlin got officially support at Google in 2019, most of our Android apps have adopted Kotlin. But Google's interest in Kotlin doesn't stop with Android apps. In fact, more than 45% of our engineers who write Kotlin use it for server development. There are over 15 million lines of Kotlin code in our source control system. This has been doubling year over year. We have dedicated teams building tools to integrate Kotlin into our large ecosystem. If you're interested in learning how Kotlin is used at Google, I invite you to attend the talk, Adopting Kotlin at Google Scale, right after this keynote. Earlier, Romain talked about Kotlin 2.0. We are very excited because we believe it will greatly improve developers' productivity. We have a dedicated team working closely with JetBrains on the compiler. At the same time, we're also actively incorporating Kotlin 2.0 into our own tools, including Android Studio, KSP, and the Compose compiler. We're also leveraging our large code base, including Android platform, and the millions of lines Google's internal code to verify the compatibility of the new compiler. Looking forward, we're dipping our toes into Kotlin Multiplatform. Today, I'm excited to share the Google Workspace team is actively experimenting with Kotlin Multiplatform. They have a prototype with business logic of Google Docs running on iOS using Kotlin Multiplatform and Kotlin Native. If you want to learn more, please check out Kotlin Multiplatform in Google Workspace later today. As part of our exploration into Kotlin Multiplatform, we also made a set of contributions which will benefit the community. We ported a set of Jetpack library to Multiplatform. This will allow you to use tools, APIs you know and like from Android and apply to the multi-platform. We also contribute to Kotlin native toolchain by improving its performance. Finally, we've been helping with Gradle plugin for Kotlin Multiplatform. This will give you more control over each target platform while still sharing as much code as possible. At KotlinConf, there are several Googlers speaking. We also have a booth. I invite you all to come by and talk to our engineers and share your thoughts. We are very excited about amazing benefit Kotlin has brought to the developer. We're looking forward to even more in the next few years. We're passionate about improving Kotlin for you, the vibrant developer community that creates amazing experience. That's a lot from me. Next, I would like to invite Igor on the stage to talk about Kotlin Ecosystem. Thanks for your time.
It's an exciting time to be a Kotlin developer. Kotlin is everywhere, on Android, server, iOS, desktop, and even in build scripts. Today, we can use Kotlin to solve basically any daily task. This is all thanks to the vibrant ecosystem created by the Kotlin community. As of 2023, the number of GitHub projects using Kotlin as a primary language has surpassed 1 million. That's a massive milestone. Thank you all for your contributions and hard work. We are delighted to see that the emerging Kotlin Multiplatform ecosystem shares the same growth rate. Over the last year, the number of multi-platform libraries increased by 60%. We are amazed to see its continuous growth at such a rapid pace. We are deeply grateful to thousands of folks who contribute their time and effort, spending time developing open source projects that benefit us all. We understand how important your contribution is for the Kotlin future, and we want to show our appreciation and provide support. As Grace mentioned, back in 2017, we started Kotlin Foundation with 2 goals in mind: to preserve the Kotlin trademarks and to control incompatible changes to the language. It helped JetBrains and Google to build a strong partnership and make Kotlin the primary language for Android development. We believe that the foundation can take on a larger scope of responsibilities and advance Kotlin even further. With Kotlin Multiplatform on the rise, we see an excellent opportunity to enhance the multi-platform ecosystem and facilitate its sustainable development. Starting today, Kotlin Foundation launches a grants program for tools, libraries, and frameworks with a primary focus on multi-platform projects. If you're an author or an existing project and you have a well-defined idea of how to enhance it further, you're eligible for a grant. Let's consider some examples. Imagine that you're an author of a WebSocket client for Android, and you want to make it multi-platform. Or you created a popular static analyzer that accumulated a pile of bugs over the years. You want to spend some time fixing them and enhance their overall code-base quality. In both cases, you're eligible for a grant. We don't ask you to provide any intellectual property rights or trademarks to the foundation. We have only 4 basic requirements. The project should have a permissive open source license, such as MIT or Apache 2. It should not be backed by a company, it should be actively maintained, and it should benefit the multi-platform ecosystem. When reviewing your submissions, the Kotlin Foundation Ecosystem Committee considers several factors, including the project audience size, the importance of a problem that the project is solving, and its overall stability. Besides it, the committee takes into account adherence to the best practices described in our newly released Library Creators Guidelines. So be sure to check them out. If you are interested, fill out the application form and provide some details about your project and how you want to utilize the grant to enhance it further. The first round of submissions ends May 15. We believe that many companies that rely on the Kotlin ecosystem want to give back to the community. That's why we are also opening a membership program, inviting companies enthusiastic about Kotlin future to partner with JetBrains and Google within the foundation. By joining us, you can help govern Kotlin trademarks, accelerate ecosystem growth, and promote Kotlin in education. And today, I'm really excited to announce the first companies who joined us and share our mission. GradleInc, who developed the most widely used build system for Kotlin, which is the default choice for Android, Kotlin Native, and Kotlin Multiplatform. TouchLab, who believed in Kotlin Multiplatform from the very beginning. They're helping teams of all sizes to get it into production, creating developer tools for it, and advocating for it in the community. Shopify, who use Kotlin Multiplatform to build features with high performance requirements only once, and they well understand the needs of large-scale apps. We are thrilled to have these companies join us and work towards the governance and development of the Kotlin ecosystem. Vibrant ecosystem enables developers to build amazing things. That's why we also initiated a Kotlin Multiplatform contest, encouraging students all over the world to showcase their creativity by building multi-platform projects in the open. Today, we have authors of 3 best projects here with us at KotlinConf. Ahmet Burak Alhan from Turkey created a multi-platform app for connecting volunteers with volunteering opportunities. Matej Procik from Poland created a set of mini-games that share lots of code between desktop and Android clients and a server. Brian Kamau-Mbigo from Kenya used Kotlin DL for pose estimation in the fitness application. If you meet these folks at the conference, be sure to say hello and talk to them about their projects. They will really love it. We, in JetBrains team, are really excited about all the multi-platform projects created in the community. Welcome Svetlana Isakova, who will share the latest updates on how we're evolving Kotlin Multiplatform in JetBrains. So buckle up for some exciting news.
Thanks, Igor. Let's talk about Kotlin Multiplatform. We started Kotlin as a JVM language, but soon realized that it was great to bring it to other platforms. Nowadays, people run Kotlin on different devices: servers, mobile phones, browsers, desktop apps. The main value that Kotlin Multiplatform brings to developers is the ability to share the knowledge, the expertise, the code. Often different teams in an organization can use Kotlin, which makes it easier for them to communicate, because they speak the same language. Of course, Kotlin Multiplatform is more than sharing knowledge. It's also about sharing code. All these applications can use a common cross-platform part, which gets compiled to different target platforms. This approach is really flexible. You decide which parts to share. from sharing network models between server and client, up to sharing almost the whole mobile apps. It's different from other cross-platform solutions. Typically, you have a choice. You should either go all-in cross-platform or stay native. And you all know the benefits of cross-platform development. You have a single source of truth, consistent logic, fewer bugs, faster development process. But it's not that everyone goes cross-platform, right? Because native development has its own advantages. You have the full power of native platforms, which often means better performance and better user experience. And Kotlin Multiplatform approach is unique. It's not either cross-platform or native. It can be both, depending on your requirements and the state of your development. You decide which parts to share. You can combine both native and cross-platform parts in your application. The best illustration for this idea is the mobile case, where you have the full flexibility of which parts can be shared. Business logic, algorithms, data models, networking, data storage, also UI. You can start small. When you already have your existing applications, you can add a small shared part, like a constant or a couple of functions for validation or formatting logic. And then you can move more and more logic there. You can have different modules, like for analytics, validation, networking. This approach is really flexible. If you start from scratch, you can share basically the whole app. From cross-platform part, you can use multi-platform libraries. Igor shared with us the impressive growth of the number of libraries in the last couple of years. Now you can find a library for most of the use cases. As the foundation, we have core libraries developed by JetBrains, like Student Library or Coroutines. Many well-known community libraries, like Core and SQLite, are now multi-platform. We have elegant solutions to improve Kotlin Swift interoperability, like KMP native coroutines, or tooling support to organize your projects, like KMM Bridge. And we're especially thrilled to see alpha versions of some of the Google-established libraries available for Kotlin Multiplatform. We've been working on this technology for several years now. We've made lots of experiments with multi-platform libraries, project configuration, memory management. Now your concurrent Kotlin code on iOS looks the same as for Android. So where are we now? Somewhere here. All these concepts were used and validated out there, so we are moving to stable later this year. Kotlin Multiplatform is here to stay. Despite being pre-stable, we have lots of successful stories from the companies who decided to use Kotlin Multiplatform for their projects. And we are really grateful for all our adopters who've been helping us shape this technology. Our vision for Kotlin Multiplatform is to be your default choice for cross-platform development for whatever task you might have. It seems to be a missing piece in this story. We got feedback from many people that they also want to share UI. And 2.5 years ago, we started working on Compose Multiplatform. Jetpack Compose is a great UI framework. It's declarative, it's in Kotlin. You're really productive with it, and it's a pleasure to create UI screens with Compose. We wanted to bring it to more platforms. Back in December, we released Compose Multiplatform targeting desktop. Using the power of Java Virtual Machine and the Compose framework, you can now route your cross-platform desktop applications fully in Kotlin in a declarative style, targeting Windows, Linux, and macOS. and it's already stable. Among others, we're using it inside JetBrains to power Toolbox app. This app is used by 1 million people worldwide to manage JetBrains IDEs installed on their machines. If you're interested in details, please go to Victor Talk tomorrow. It's great to have a modern UI framework targeting desktop. But what about mobile? As some of you noticed, we've been experimenting with Compose for iOS. And today, we're pleased to announce the alpha version for Compose Multiplatform targeting iOS. Using Jetpack Compose on Android and Compose for iOS on iPhone, you can now build the same app. The benefits of shared UI are huge. You have the same language. You can reuse what you already know. You don't need to maintain 2 versions of the same app. Writing UI becomes really fast. You can get your MVP very quickly. It's great for startups to bring their ideas fast to markets. If native UI is not crucial for your business, you get all the benefits of shared code bases. It's currently in alpha, and we really believe in this use case, and we are committed to bringing iOS support to Compose Multiplatform. Please try it and share your feedback. There are some open questions along the way, and we want to involve you, the community, into this journey. If you're interested, please go to the talk of my colleagues, Sebastian and Nikita, later today. They'll also show you this demo app in action. It's not becoming the only way. Kotlin Multiplatform is about flexibility. You can share only the business logic and keep the UI native, or you can share UI as well, using Compose Multiplatform or another cross-platform UI framework or library. It's up to you. It's your choice. Kotlin Multiplatform works on different platforms, and we're also expanding it to new emerging platforms. Recently, we released experimental support for Kotlin on WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a binary instruction format supported by all the major browsers, designed to be efficient and secure. We are building an entirely new compiler backend using WebAssembly garbage collection proposal. We see huge potential in WebAssembly, especially regarding the performance that your Kotlin God can get in the browser. We also look forward to seeing what the WebAssembly System Interface Initiative can bring to server-side and serverless application development. What's more, we've been experimenting with running Compose apps in the browser. Wouldn't it be great to port your existing Compose code to web? We already have some prototypes, which you can play with. WebAssembly is a promising technology, and it's important for Kotlin to support it. Having a unified UI experience with Compose brings even more possibilities to this bright future. So, we've taken you on a tour today of what we have now, what we're working on, and what is planned for the future. And this week at KotlinConf, you have the opportunity to dive deeper into all of these areas. And many incredible community talks are waiting for us. We really hope that you'll enjoy the event. Have a great conference!